What's up, everybody? Whoop. Hopefully I didn't bump that too much. There we go. Today, I'm thinking about sketching an idea, kind of like that. All right, I'm done. No. um, trying to think of a way, because like what I really want to do is, so like the theme that I'm thinking of is St. Francis of Assisi, because I really admired growing up his idea of kind of like that radical love, where just not trying to possess anything, not trying to own anything, but trying to love life and animals as they were. Ooh, actually, yeah, just do it like that. There's many stories of him like being turned away from people, and during his preachings, instead of getting all mad and everything, he would turn instead to preach to the fish, and then there'd be like things where like the fish would pop up and listen. Just his love for animals and life is inspiring to me. The way he treated everyone as an equal, no matter how big or small, no matter what they were like in his life. The way he treated everyone like a friend, like family, like a brother or a sister. And so for me, I'm kind of just trying to release that feeling of radical loving kindness. And I wanted to do a painting that would kind of honor his way of being. As you can tell, like, I'm not trying to, like, as usual, I'm not going for anything high class or specific, because there's already people doing that. There's already amazing pieces of St. Francis, and I honestly, like, I don't want to try to rival that. I want to make something that expresses how I feel about St. Francis. Someone that was kind to children, someone that helped the brokenhearted, someone that helped those the world rejected, someone that was a friend to all. And I love his peace prayer. And whether you're religious or not, I think looking at some of the Catholic saints and mystics is a good idea, because I think I made this guy a little too short because he's kneeling. Actually, that means I should have it right up here. Yeah. Because there is something that I think we all can learn from, whether these people were real or not. I think we could all learn a lot from people that were trying to exemplify the good in the world. The people that tried and sometimes lost their lives in pursuit of either speaking the truth to power or taking care of the outcasts. We need more saints in the world. We need more people to try to be saints. And I'm not talking about the people that preach, oh, thou shalt not, thou shalt do this, and thou shalt give me money. Put $20 in the basket and God will bless you. Oh, Lord, amen. No, fuck those people. Burn in hell with your money, as Peter said to Simon Magus. Because those people are just trying to take advantage of the poor and downtrodden. The people that have been rejected by society, the people that have been kicked out, that have no longer have homes. We need more St. Francis's. We need more people like Claire. People that went out, like if you've... see, the thing is, a lot of these stories are just, kind of hand-me-downs. We don't really have too much proof of any of these things, but it's not about whether they were real or not. I think a lot of Christians and religious people that are fundamentalists lose sight of it because they take everything so literally that they base their faith on whether it's real or not. It doesn't matter whether it's real. What matters is the example of the story. It's just like Aesop's fables. The whole point of those stories is to give you something to give you an example of what to be. To give you an example of what a good person is like. I don't think there's I try not to make moral judgments because I don't know if there's actually such a thing as good or evil. I doubt it. I think that it's a construct based on societal and social development, or not society, based on cultural development and societal norms. That's usually kind of what good and evil is based on. Like if you, I think a good book for a lot of people to read is Totem and Taboo by Sigmund Freud. I think that would be a very enlightening book that should have been in schools. But this idea that, like, Joseph Campbell talks a lot about mythology as ways of understanding how we should move in the world. And if you look at a lot of these things, these people have been... Just because you're a good person, that doesn't mean you're going to get good stuff. That doesn't mean people are going to love you. That doesn't mean that your life is going to be easy. Actually, it's the complete opposite. Your life, if you are trying to be a good person, your life is going to be infinitely harder. Because there's a lot of work that has to go into that. A lot of self-sacrifice, a lot of death of the ego in order to help another. I need this big head to look up, so I gotta make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. So like what I'm basically doing now is getting out just very basic placement, because I just want to know kind of what the spatial relationships are. I don't necessarily need to make everything look perfect. I just need to have a feeling for where things go. So when I put brush to canvas, it's intuitive. I've already done this part. But before I do this painting, I am going to do some kind of like research on the clothing styles and maybe like do something similar to that, but it doesn't have to be spot on because I'm most likely going to use my square heads like I like to use, because I think that everyone can be a Saint Francis. I think that everyone can be a Teresa of Avila. Everyone can be Jesus. Everyone could be a little better than they are today in order to make someone else's life better. And like I would love to use reference photos and stuff, but the problem is with a lot of reference photos, like I don't have the time to go take pictures right now of all this. I only have a certain amount of time that I can dedicate toward my craft because of my life being taken up by just trying to pay bills, working for the corporate overlords, you know. So I'm just trying to get the hips in place. That should be a twist. And of course, I like putting the halo around saints because the point of it is supposed to kind of signify Keter, and like I love studying different forms of esotericism and magic and just union with the divine, and there's something about the Golden Dawny mapping of the tree of life onto the body that I really just love that pattern. And so like I want to incorporate that into my art as well. One of my favorite movies growing up was Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. And it's about the life of St. Francis, but a very fictionalized version. And like the beginning song, Brother, Sun, and Sister, Moon, it's stuck in my head for I don't know how long. You know, the angle of the building and the perspective to hit his heart. And one of the stories of St. Francis is that he was given the stigmata, and so I'm probably going to incorporate that in some way into the painting. If you can't tell, like my style has become a lot looser lately than it used to be. I like realism and everything, but there's just something about the emotion that is put into work when it has that, what's the word I'm looking for, that edginess to it. It's got texture. I really, really like texture. And I think that if you live your life as an art, you're essentially living like a saint. Because what did the saints do? If you look at the Catholic Church, a lot of the time they were focused on kind of here's something that I want to talk about. There is a lot of shit thrown at Christianity. But then like people will praise things like, you know, Plato and Aristotle. If you actually look at Catholicism and a lot of what they were influenced by, they were Aristotelians. A lot of them were Aristotelians. Like if I remember Augustine of Hippo, an Aristotelian. They were very much based in fact and logic. Just because they had things wrong in some aspects doesn't mean that they weren't trying to understand life at like using the ways that they could, using the methods that they had at the time, the smartest methods they had. And one of Aristotle's big things is like in the Nicomachean, that's how you pronounce it. I don't even know how to pronounce it. In his Ethics, Aristotle talks about virtue, and virtue is between extremes. So on one hand, you have debauchery, and the other hand, you have kind of an inward-going debauchery. And the other way, you have too much going outward. So too much. I would say Saint Francis kind of exemplifies this one, polarity. When you are giving of yourself too much, you will be pulled apart by all the selfishness around you. But if you're extremely selfish and you're pulling everything in, no one will want to be around you. You must have to find a balance, and that balance is virtue. The middle is virtue. You don't want to go, like, too much good is not a virtue. Too much bad is not a virtue. A virtue is being able to balance giving of yourself and being selfish with pretty much any type of mode of being. Like if you're the type of person that's like so loosey-goosey that you're not jealous, or you're not kind of person that will put their foot down on something, you're going to be walked over by everyone, you're going to get cheated on, you're going to be in horrible relationships, and everybody's going to take advantage of you. But if you're the opposite, and you are the person that cheats on the other person, that lies to the other person, that steals from other people, that's no good either. If you're constantly focused on yourself, you're going to destroy your life. If you're not focused on yourself, you're going to destroy your life. Virtue is being what he called continent, which basically breaks down to consistency, being consistently balancing the extremes of self. And a lot of Catholic stuff was kind of based on that idea. I mean, there's lots, of course, the sins and all that bullshit, where it's really just like, oh, this person's gay, therefore kill them. You know, it was a really weird time back then. I think that was because they took some of the Old Testament a little too seriously. But that being said, there is something to Christianity, to its essence, because there are lots of horrible people in the world, but there's also lots of people that are trying to make the world better. I'm not saying that you have to have a religion to be that person that's trying to make the world a better place, but I'm saying there's a lot of stuff in religion that talks about balancing these things, because especially in Catholicism and early Christianity, based on Platonic and Aristotelian ideas. Like, even if you look at Islamic philosophy, a lot of that early stuff is based on Aristotelian philosophy, because that was very popular back then. They had translations. When Europe went dark, the Islamic world took off, because they still were working on science. They still had some remnants of the Greek way of thinking, Greek teaching, and so they carried on a lot of traditions. They had way better plumbing. They had amazing medicine. They had so much cool stuff that Europe just didn't have, because of just various environmental factors. I think it's really a slippery slope to say that, oh, religion is the cause. Like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, religion is just all hate. Well, obviously you don't know anything about religion. Or that to say that religion is all love. Obviously you don't know a lot about religion. Religion is influenced by the people that make the decisions within it. So, and the people that are part of it. And because people are a spectrum of selfishness and unselfishness, and especially at different times of life we exemplify different things, their religion itself can be selfish or selfless. It really depends on the practitioner, not the religion. Because you could be a Buddhist and be a piece of shit. Just because of your religion doesn't mean that you're a good person. But at the same time, just because you're religious doesn't mean that you're, a crusader. And this guy doesn't have a leg. He's been rejected by society. He's a beggar, trying to provide for his son. His clothes are all tattered and worn. He has no shoes. Oh, it's time, I guess. Just a few more minutes because I didn't really get a full half hour with y'all because it took me so long to get started. There's those really cool looking trees in Italy that are like basically like that, and they put them on rows along the roads, and I'm definitely going to use that. If you ever look at clouds, you'll notice that they kind of go in lines, in rows. They'll have lines that go down towards the horizon, but then a lot of them have just their levels that they sit on. And then there will be, because I think, as far as I can tell, there's wind, like currents and things that are pushing it in these lines. So they'll kind of line up to make these shapes. But not all clouds are equal. Not all clouds are the same. There's those little clouds that are the patchy ones that go down in little breaks to the thing. And then there's what I like to call God's coke lines, which are clouds that just look like lines of coke being cut in the sky. I think that's a pretty good sketch for right now. I really like this one. This is just a good basis for how I'm gonna put this. I want to give this guy a bit of a hunchback. His ass should be right about here, I think. And he's got his crutch with him because he's missing a leg. A little shadow, a little shading in there. And that's all for today. Wait, let me do. I'm just going to do this just for fun, just because I want to get a little bit of extra shading here. My favorite part of the Bible is when Jesus is talking about the parable of the sheep and the goats, and Jesus says, and at the end of it, they're like, "Lord, Lord, didn't we do all these things for you? And didn't we say that, didn't we give to these charities? Didn't we do all these wonders and these works in your name?" And Jesus says, "Yeah, but depart from me. I didn't know you, because they didn't help the downtrodden. They didn't. When I was in prison, you didn't visit me. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was cold and naked, you didn't clothe me. Because what you do to the least of me, least of these, you do to me." And that's the essence of all of my work. is to show that with this one figure that I draw continually, we are all the same. What you do to one person, you do to the rest of the world. You do to God. You do to yourself. What you do to the least of these. If you give even a child a cool glass of water, you've done more than, oh man, I am doing that. It's going to be a glass of water. You've done more than all of the saints, than everyone else in the world. If you just help the least of these, the people that no one else cares about, you're helping the universe. What you do to the least of these, you do to me. I think is a very profound thought. You don't have to try to invent something that'll change the world. If you want to change the world, feed the homeless. You want to change the world? Do the dishes for your mom. You want to change the world? Forgive your greatest enemy. And you will have changed the world for the better. All right, everybody. I hope you have a blessed day. See you tomorrow.